There are moments when time feels heavier than it should, not because of the hours themselves, but because of the waiting that accumulates within us, waiting that stretches, a little today, a little tomorrow, until it becomes habit, and habit, without us noticing, becomes a prison. Maybe you're living like that now, caught between delayed dreams, postponed decisions, and a quiet hope that someday it will all make sense. But what if that waiting is costing you more than you realize? There's a kind of pain that doesn't scream, a pain that settles into days that feel the same, into a weariness that has no name, into that sense that life is always almost starting. It's the pain of those who wait too long, who postpone their dreams with reasons that sound logical but hide unhealed fears. Do you feel that? That pinch in your chest when you remember what you said you'd do and didn't? That weight in your stomach when you realize another month has passed and nothing has changed? It's not laziness. It's not lack of ability. It's the exhaustion of someone who's stood too long at the doorway, waiting for permission to walk into their own life. Napoleon Hill, with the clarity of someone who understood the unseen laws of success, taught that great achievers had one trait in common. They made decisions quickly and changed their minds slowly. They didn't wait for the perfect moment. They created it, because they knew that every time we delay a decision, we weaken our faith in ourselves. Every time we say, "I'll start tomorrow," we give away a piece of our strength. It's subtle, but it eats away at us. Confidence dissolves like fog in the sun, and what remains is a cycle of delay, disguised as caution. Greg Braden reminds us of something even deeper, the quantum field. That invisible ocean where all possibilities exist doesn't respond to what you want in the future. It responds to the vibrational state you embody now. It's your inner state in this very moment that shapes reality around you. And when the dominant vibration is waiting, the field reflects more waiting. Life remains suspended. The days go by, but nothing truly moves. Because it's not enough to want, you have to become what you want. Now, without guarantees, without control, without waiting for everything to make sense. Maybe you need to hear this today. Life doesn't show you the whole bridge at once. It reveals itself step by step, as if whispering, "Trust me, step first." But we were taught to do the opposite, to wait until the whole path is clear before moving, to wait for safety, for validation, for fear to fade. But fear doesn't dissolve with time, it dissolves with movement, and the bridge only appears to those who step. So breathe, feel the now. There is nothing more to wait for. The cost of waiting is too high. It drains energy, vitality, trust, it costs life, and maybe, just maybe, and it's time to start winning. Not tomorrow, not when everything makes sense, but today, now, in this very instant, when you choose to live. There's a kind of paralysis that doesn't look like paralysis. It wears the mask of caution, of careful planning, of endless preparation. It seems wise, even admirable, but inside, it corrodes, as if the soul is always one step away from beginning and never does. Maybe you know this feeling of thinking, overthinking, weighing pros and cons, asking for signs, revising plans. And time goes by, days pile up, and life remains on hold. Many call this planning, but what looks like preparation is often fear dressed up as wisdom, an inner voice that whispers, "It's not time yet, wait a bit longer, you're not ready," and that "not yet" becomes forever, like an echo repeating in the back of your mind, as if there's a perfect moment that hasn't arrived and maybe never will. The truth is, the perfect moment isn't found, it's created. Through movement. Picture a ship anchored in a harbor. The sails are ready, the hull is strong, the crew eager. But it doesn't leave, because someone said it's better to wait for the perfect wind, and the wind never seems enough. The sky never blue enough, the sea never calm enough, and so the ship becomes part of the dock, and what was built to sail decays at the shore. This is the soul of someone trapped in the false safety of endless analysis. With every new plan, a subtle excuse. With every idea, maybe later, but spirituality doesn't bloom in stillness. And destiny doesn't reveal itself to those who only study the compass without taking a single step. There's a wisdom that only reveals itself on the road. A clarity that comes not from thinking, but from living. It's in the friction of experience that truth appears. In action, fear loses strength, and it's within the imperfect, the uncertain, the now, that the soul finds direction. Maybe you're waiting for certainty, but what you really need is courage. Not the courage of someone who knows everything, but of someone who knows enough to begin. Because the universe, this silent and intelligent field, doesn't respond to hesitation. It responds to the step, to movement, to the firm choice that says, even without guarantees, I go. And when you move, the wind comes. There's a quiet illusion that keeps many souls stuck. The belief that the right time will arrive from the outside. As if there's a scheduled hour in the universe's calendar when everything will finally fall into place, as if one day the circumstances will align, and then finally everything will flow. But that moment almost never comes, because it doesn't emerge from the calendar. It's made by consciousness. How many times have you delayed something waiting for a sign? How many times have you told yourself you'll start when you feel safer, more prepared, more confident? And what happened? Time passed. The desire cooled. The dream went dormant. It's as if life slipped into neutral, waiting for a push that never came. But the ideal moment, as Napoleon Hill taught, isn't found. It's created, with decision, with the act of saying, even if I don't know everything, I'm starting. It feels counterintuitive. We were taught that time heals, time prepares, time resolves, but time by itself transforms nothing. What changes reality is what you do with it. Decision is what breaks the waiting cycle. It's a spark that ignites an invisible process. When you decide, the universe responds. When you act, the doors begin to shift, because reality reorganizes itself around those who take a stand. If there's something you've been holding in your chest, an idea, a calling, a change that's been asking to happen, and you've been pushing it forward for weeks, months, even years, maybe it's time to see that this later is a mirage. The impulse is already there. The clarity, even if subtle, has already shown itself, and deep down you know it. You know. You're just waiting for a breaking point, something to rupture the hesitation. But that point won't come from the outside. It must be born from within you. Now imagine a simple decision, small, one action you could take within the next 24 hours. It doesn't have to be grand. It just has to be real. One step that shows your mind that you're present, that you've chosen to move out of waiting, that the right time isn't marked on a calendar, because the right time is now, always has been, always will be, and it only reveals itself to those with the courage to act, even without all the answers. Waiting seems like an innocent pause, a postponed decision, a delayed choice, a dream set aside for later, but behind that apparent neutrality, there is a silent drain. Because waiting is not static. It consumes, it drains, it wears down a deep part of the soul that longs for expression and movement. Neuroscience has confirmed what many spiritually attuned hearts already sensed. The brain expends more energy resisting an action than performing it. In other words, while you're waiting, hesitating, spinning around the not yet, your body is in constant effort. Effort to suppress the natural impulse of the soul, which is to create, to expand, to live. And that effort comes at a price, a fatigue that doesn't come from doing too much, but from holding back too long. Then symptoms arise that no one links to waiting. Unexplained tiredness, apathy, a dimming light in the eyes, vague anxiety. It's not that life is too hard. It's that the soul is stuck in a place it no longer belongs. It's vital energy trapped in undone plans. It's creative energy, stifled by promises made to yourself and never fulfilled. How many people do you know who've spent decades waiting for the right moment to start a business, to love, to change their lives? And when they look back, they realize it wasn't time that was missing. It was courage. And that realization often comes too late. It arrives with a bitter taste, with the sense of having wasted something that won't return, because some things are only born in specific cycles, and when those cycles pass, some doors close, not as punishment, but because the energy has already moved on. Waiting isn't neutral. Waiting is erosion of faith. Faith in yourself, faith in life, faith in that invisible pulse asking to come through. When you delay, you're not just postponing an external result. You're telling the universe and yourself that you don't trust, that you don't believe enough to act, and that drains you, dims you, weakens the field around you. But the good news is that energy can be reactivated, not with grand gestures, but with small movements, one step, one yes, one gesture of presence. Because when you choose to break the cycle of waiting, something lights up inside, and that flame, even if small, has the power to reignite everything, everything. Because life in its essence responds to the rhythm of the heart that chooses to be alive, here, now, no more waiting. There's a kind of fear that's hard to identify. It doesn't show up as panic or visible anxiety. It dresses itself in logic, in refined spirituality, in reasonable speech. It says, wait a little longer. I need to understand more. I'll deepen my practice before I act. And so fear keeps reigning, disguised as prudence. Of all internal saboteurs, this might be the most dangerous, because it looks like wisdom, but it's actually escape. Often that fear wears the clothes of spirituality. I need to meditate more before making a decision. I need to feel the right moment in my heart. I haven't received a clear sign from the universe yet, and so the soul remains suspended, seemingly preparing endlessly. But there comes a point when preparation turns into prison, when the spiritual path becomes a circular loop, when the pursuit of clarity becomes an excuse to avoid embodying what is already known. It's spiritual procrastination. It sounds noble, but it keeps us on the surface. It gives the illusion of growth when, in truth, it's just avoidance, because the next step demands exposure. It demands surrender. It demands leaving the safety of ideas and diving into the unknown of experience. It's like a gardener who waters the soil every day with care, with devotion, but never plants the seed. They believe it's not time yet, that the soil could improve, that the weather needs to be more stable, but deep down, they're afraid the seed won't sprout, afraid it won't bloom, afraid to fail, and so they indefinitely postpone the simplest and most decisive gesture, planting. But life doesn't respond to unembodied intention. The universe doesn't move for thoughts that never turn into action. True clarity only emerges when you move through fear. And to move through fear doesn't mean to eliminate it. It means going, even with it. It means recognizing that doubt will be there. Insecurity will come, discomfort will be part of it. And still you move forward, not to prove anything, but because something inside is already ready, and that something can only blossom when it's lived, not merely understood. True spirituality isn't a collection of elevated concepts. It's a living practice, a daily gesture, a heart that acts with faith, even while the mind still trembles, because some wisdoms only reveal themselves through the body, and some truths only become real when they are chosen, not just contemplated. There's a subtle yet deeply rooted idea that we should only act when we're ready, as if an ideal moment of absolute alignment between emotion, circumstance, knowledge, and courage is a prerequisite to begin. And so many wait. They wait to feel completely clear. They wait to become better versions of themselves. They wait for everything to fit perfectly. But the truth is that fit rarely comes before action. It's born from it. Napoleon Hill said that the treasures of the mind are not revealed when stored. They are revealed when used. Knowledge that isn't applied becomes a burden. Inspiration not followed becomes frustration. Ignored intuition turns to illness. The soul needs experience to bloom, and purpose. Purpose is not something you discover before the journey. it is revealed along the way. As if woven step by step, choice after choice, courage after courage. The great paradox is that you don't need to be ready to begin. You become ready as you go. It's through the imperfection of doing that strength emerges. Through trying, failing, being vulnerable, the essence shows itself. And often it's exactly in the state of not being ready that the greatest growth unfolds. Because when you act, even feeling unsure, something inside reorganizes. And that something is powerful, it's transformative, it's the energy of movement, breaking the stagnation of waiting. Life doesn't demand perfection, it demands presence. Presence in the gesture, presence in the intention, presence in the now. It doesn't matter if the first step is shaky, it's more valuable than 1,000 plans that never left the paper. That step signals to the universe that you're willing, that you've chosen to trust the process, even without the full map, even without guarantees. And when that happens, something shifts, because reality doesn't respond to theory. It responds to the living vibration of doing. Allowing yourself to act in a state of productive imperfection is one of the greatest acts of self-compassion. It's telling yourself, I don't need to be perfect. I just need to be honest. And that honesty, when embodied with courage, can rewrite entire stories, because wealth, of soul, of purpose, of life, is not in the waiting. It's in the flow, in the movement, in the now, always in the now. There's a silent moment between thought and action that defines everything. A sacred space where decision forms, where energy organizes, where the invisible prepares to become real. In that moment, you can either stay where you are or turn the now into a portal of manifestation. And that choice, though it may seem small, carries a power most people underestimate. Greg Braden teaches that the quantum field responds to the coherence of the heart, not to the force of desire, not to the intensity of thought, but to coherence. When what you feel, what you believe, and what you do vibrate on the same frequency, the field responds. And it responds immediately, because the universe doesn't move for fragmented intentions. It moves for wholeness. It recognizes vibrational alignment. It bends in front of the soul that decides, feels, and acts in unison. Manifestation isn't magic, but it is deeply mysterious. It happens when you align with what you want to create, not in words, but in state. The state is the key. When you act like someone who already trusts, when you feel like someone who already has, when you walk like someone who already is, reality reorganizes. And the now, this seemingly ordinary now, becomes a portal where time bends, where matter softens, where the unseen takes shape. But how do you align emotion, decision, and action? How do you step out of theory and truly become a living presence? Sometimes it starts with a simple gesture, a small ritual, a clear intention before sleep. That moment when you end the day and with awareness, write down or mentally commit to one concrete action for tomorrow. Not something grand, just something real. And when the next day comes, you do it. No debate, no internal negotiation. You just move. That gesture, as small as it may seem, communicates a new frequency to the universe. It says, I'm in motion. And when the universe hears that movement, it moves too. Because action is the energetic seal of decision. It's the vibrational signature that affirms, my choice is true. And when that happens, the now becomes sacred. Turning the now into a portal of manifestation doesn't require elaborate rituals. It requires presence. It requires intention in action. It requires a heart aligned with choice. Because when the heart says yes and the body obeys, reality has no choice. It responds, and what once seemed distant begins to draw near, step by step, vibration by vibration. Everything begins now. Imagine standing in front of a completely dark room. Inside, there's something important, something that belongs to you, something you need to move forward. But from the outside, you hesitate. You wait for someone to turn on the light. You wait for the brightness to come from outside, like a sign, like permission. And in that act of waiting, time stretches. The room stays dark, and what was meant to be discovered remains hidden. Many live like this, stopped at closed doors, waiting for the light to arrive so they can enter. But what no one told us is that in many of these rooms, the light only turns on from the inside. It only reveals itself when you cross the threshold, when you allow yourself to step in even without seeing, even without knowing, even trembling. Life is full of these rooms, dark spaces holding potential, moments of uncertainty carrying revelations. Situations that at first seem threatening but are actually invitations to courage. And what separates those who live deeply from those who merely survive is that choice. The choice to enter the dark room and turn on your own light. Because clarity rarely comes before action. It's born from the gesture, from the step, from the surrender. When you say yes to the unknown, the unseen begins to show itself. And the light, it doesn't come from outside. It's lit by your movement, by your decision to be the source, not the reflection, to be the torch, not the mirror. Those who wait for clarity often spend life on the sidelines, but those who dare to be clarity transform everything around them. Life rewards those who choose to be light, who walk into the dark with their hearts ablaze, who don't wait for the world's permission to shine. And maybe today, exactly today, you're standing in front of one of those rooms. Maybe it's a project, a conversation, a long postponed decision, something asking for your presence, but also awakening your fear. If that's the case, remember, the world won't give you guarantees, but it will give you paths. And those paths only reveal themselves to those who enter, even without sight, even without light, because it's your step that turns everything on, everything. Everything said up to this point comes down to a single truth. Life happens in the now, not in future plans, not in mental projections, not in the promises to start over next Monday or next month or next year. Life pulses in the exact instant you choose to live, and that choice depends on nothing but your decision. Napoleon Hill, with the firm clarity of someone who understood the power of the mind, said that decision is the starting point of all wealth and achievement. Because to decide is to declare to the universe, I'm ready to be a channel, not just a vessel. It is to step out of inertia and claim your role as co-creator. It is to stop waiting for the world to change and start vibrating differently within the world. Joe Dispenza deepens this truth with the precision of spiritual neuroscience. When you choose to act now, your brain forms new circuits. Literally, new connections are made, and with them new perceptions, new emotions, new behaviors. But more than that, your decision shifts the field around you. It alters the information you send to the universe, and that transforms your reality from the inside out. Waiting, as understandable as it may be, is energy loss. It's like keeping the engine running without ever moving forward. Slowly, your strength is depleted, your faith cools, your confidence dims. But action, even with fear, even without knowing everything, even in doubt, generates energy. It initiates movement. It rekindles the flame of life. Because the tomorrow you keep waiting for is a mirage. It never arrives the way you imagine. Tomorrow is always an extension of what you vibrate today. And if today you choose to act, to feel, to decide, then tomorrow changes. It's no longer a vague promise. It becomes an echo of your present actions. Close your eyes for a moment and picture this: a candle flickering on the verge of going out. Beside it, the warm air of your breath, the air of your decision. The flame only stays alive if you keep breathing, if you keep showing up, if you keep choosing life. Those who wait to breathe fade, but those who breathe now, who blow now, who choose now, keep the light alive. And maybe that's what your soul is asking for in this moment, that you claim the now with tenderness, with courage, with presence, because it is in this silent and sacred instant that victory begins, and everything, absolutely everything transforms from within, from you, from now.